Hi everyone, my name is Darren Tay and I'm the 2016 World Champion of Public Speaking. Welcome to this video series on rehearsals. I'm going to share with you how you can rehearse your speech much better prior to that important presentation, whether it's a business presentation or an in-class school-based presentation. So what exactly are rehearsals? Rehearsals are activities in which you undertake to make sure that you run through the particular script and ensure that you are very familiar with it. Let's go on to the most important concern. How can I memorize my speech in a much more effective manner? So, to memorize the speech. Now, if you were to memorize the speech from top to bottom, it depends, of course, on the duration of your speech. If your speech is 5 to 7 minutes and 30 seconds, it would be fairly easy to memorize that speech given sufficient time. But if your speech is going to be 2 hours and 30 minutes, like a 2-hour-long seminar, or worse, a 9 to 5 p.m. workshop, and it's not really possible to memorize the entire script, it's going to be very tedious in the first place to type it out verbatim. What I would suggest for a 5 to 7 minutes and 30-second speech, the best way to memorize it is in fact to break down your speech into different logical portions. For example, in my speech, if I have the introduction and I have point number 1 in my body, point number 2 in the body of my speech, point number 3 before my conclusion, what I can do is I will try and split them up into 5 different portions first and rehearse them in separate portions. And once I'm done with that, I will then try and piece them together and memorize as a whole. That will be easier by breaking them up into bite-sized pieces and splitting them appropriately to the appropriate number of hours or days of the week. You can memorize them much more effectively. Or what you can do is, you can have a drill exercise, like what my mentor, year 2000 World Champion of Public Speaking at Tate did with me. Several hours prior to my grand finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking 2016, what we did was we split the speech that I delivered into 5 different parts. And the 5 different parts, what my mentor would do would be to say, Darren, now go over to part 1, which was the introduction. Then go to part 3, which was point number 2. Then go to part number 5, which was the conclusion. Now jump to part 2 again, which is point number 1 in my speech. In that way, I was able to not just memorize, but more importantly, internalize my speech. Next, what you want to do is you don't just rehearse sitting down. You have to rehearse your speech by moving about, by using your hand gestures and saying out loud, as if you are the one giving the presentation right here, right now. So when you rehearse with the vocal variety, you rehearse with the body language, and make sure you say it out and make sure it's aloud, not just within you. So it's very important for you to consider that, because in so doing, you're getting as close as possible to the actual practical experience. The next point about rehearsals is try and rehearse at least once or twice before bedtime. Because when you rehearse once or twice before bedtime and then when you go to sleep, research studies have shown that it helps you internalize that message much better. In fact, it seeps much deeper, so much so that it's easier for you to bring and recollect what you're going to say. Bring it back up to the forefront of your mind. Finally, for rehearsals, you have heard of many trainers. They will say something like, rehearse in front of a mirror. What I would suggest is you only rehearse in front of a mirror if you are looking at simply your facial expressions. If you're trying to spot the body language leakages, things that are already not very conscious to you, you're not very aware about it, then rehearsing in front of a mirror is not going to be effective at all. Instead, what you want to do is you rehearse in front of a video camera and make sure you video record your performance so that you can play it back and look out for those minor body language leakages. Because you see, at the end of the day, if you're looking in front of the mirror and rehearsing your speech, what happens when you're supposed to turn around and look at the different part of the audience members, or maybe even have your back faced the audience members, how then can you capture all these different nuances in nonverbal communication? That's why I would strongly advise in getting and investing in a video camera so that you can video record your performances. Or if not, make sure you use the camera that is inbuilt in your mobile phones. iPhones, Samsung, they have fairly good quality. With that, I hope you have enjoyed this particular video series. What have I shared with you? I've shared with you some techniques involved in not just memorizing, but internalizing your speech. I've also shared with you that rehearsing in front of a mirror is not something that many people use nowadays. With the advent of technology, more and more individuals actually rehearsed in front of a video camera being recorded so that they can first show it to their mentor, and second, they can play it back so that they themselves can spot the body language leakages. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video series.